So, on the 8th of January 2021, my little baby girl Mila passed away. She came at 23 weeks and 6 days. She was 17 weeks early. And she lived for 20 days. And we had her funeral on the 19th of January. Today is the 9th of Feb. Everyone's kind of gone back to work now. So I don't really know what to do with myself, to be honest. I would love to write a song, but lots of the songs that I've been listening to kind of say the words that I'd want to say anyway, and I don't really know how to start. But I'd love to learn to play the guitar. Andrew's got a guitar sitting there, but I think it's having the patience to sit and... But then I've got all the time in the world. What's my excuse? It's hard, really. You got everybody to talk to, but no one's ever going to say the thing that you want to hear the most, which is, you know, never happened. Yeah. Her name was Mila. Mila Poppy Cunningham. And I love talking about her. I could talk about her all day. What do you do now? I know when people say it feels like the world stops spinning, but then everybody else's carries on. If I don't talk about it, I feel like I'm not doing her justice. I just want to talk about it all the time. I'm making a book for her at the minute on Snapfish. And I've done about 22 pages of from the day she was born, all the things that have happened, like in a positive way, like talking about her, all the amazing things we did with her and all that kind of stuff. I've got to this part in the book now where I think I've got like 5 days left to write about. It's just so sad. Like, what do I write on those pages? Like, it's just like pictures of her, and I've got like little hearts, and like one day, it was the day after Christmas, leading up to New Year, and we came down. We were so naive. She just like, she ballooned like 3 times her size, and we were like, oh, like, is that a sudden growth? Is that what? I don't know. But like on those days where you can see she looks so poorly, I don't know what to write. I just want it to be a happy book. I just wish there was more pages to write than 25. It's crazy, isn't it? Like, getting pregnant, yeah, like, I understand so many women struggle with even the conceiving part, and that must be terrible. Like, I've just been to Clare House today to do like a little bit of like a therapy. The lady was amazing. She did like this big reflexology on me, and it's interesting, but I can't imagine what that must feel like. Like, what I was saying was, going to Clare House, I had to do a COVID test, and the thing that they have it is different. The way it's done is different to any other COVID test I've ever seen. You have to, like, you know, do whatever you do, pop it in a little bit of water, squidge the water around on it, and then tip the water from the swab onto this contraption, and it looks like a pregnancy test. And they give you this booklet, and it's like, these lines are what you want to see for positive COVID, these are the lines you want to see for negative COVID. And it's like, I can't, seeing negative come up, I know it's for COVID, but seeing negative come up is like, I can't imagine what that must be like to constantly see negative. That must be horrendous, like, so frustrating. But then on the flip side, like, I've had 2 miscarriages before I had Mila in the same year, and then having Mila, like, the joy you get from that test, and it's starting to infuriate me now when people are going, at least you can get pregnant. Oh, great, yeah, what? To lose the baby, to go through that absolute hell and back. Like, miscarriage, like, I don't know. Miscarriage was horrendous. And, you know, I know many women might feel different to how I'm going to interpret my feelings towards it, but you will always wonder what if, always. And, like, you remember dates in your head, you know, you remember, like, telling the stuff, how you told family. And, you know, the first time we found out, I think I was like 3 weeks pregnant, and we just were like so happy, like 3 weeks. I look back at it now and I'm like, flipping heck. But then you have the loss of everything, and it's still like, you know, I think we went to the 12-week scan, and I think the baby had stopped growing the first time about 6 or 7 weeks, so baby was very, very small. So, you know, not to be too graphic, but it is like having a really, really heavy period. It feels horrible, like, you know, it's different to a heavy period, but you don't have that, like, I don't know, it's still very, very early on. You're still mentally very early on. And it's incredibly exciting, and, you know, afterwards you like start again. But I think, and then obviously another miscarriage, we went to the 12-week scan, baby had stopped growing at 9 weeks, and again, you know, it's horrendous, like, to have to physically miscarry. You, unless you've been through it, no one will ever understand what it's like to sit on the toilet and just feel like, it's just horrific. It's absolutely horrific. But then this one, like, 3rd time lucky, like, I had a bump. I was in work, I was so proud. God, miscarrying twice, I never got to get a bump, and God, did I want a bump. And you just do that thing where you just hug your tummy, you stroke it constantly. And oh God, I wanted to wear the tightest things just to show off everything. And that's like, I don't know about anyone else how I felt, but that connection of being like, oh my God, I am going to be a mum. I'm a mum. I've got something inside me that is mine. And then we did 12-week scan. Yep, everything great. Oh my God. Not hearing those words at the 12-week scan that we'd heard twice before, 3 times, because we had to go again the 2nd time. Not hearing, I'm so sorry, but I can't find a heartbeat. Actually, like, hearing her heartbeat. That was one milestone. And then we had a 20-week scan. We went private for that. to like a private place. My mum came with Andrew and watching him wriggle and move and just go, Mum, look, like, you know, my mum hasn't had scans. My sister's now 23, 24, so she's even showing her that. Oh, I was absolutely on top of the world. But still, from the first 2 times, Andrew's mentality was very like, let's not get too excited, you know. Yeah, so 20-week scan, amazing, unbelievable. After going to a 12-week scan twice, 2 separate pregnancies, and hearing, I'm sorry, your baby's not got a heartbeat, you can't describe looking at a screen and seeing your baby move, have a heartbeat, wriggle, look at scan pictures and say, oh, she's got your nose, your eye, whatever. You can't even put it into words. But then it makes it all that bit harder when you get further along, like, you know, having a bump. We got to that point where we were like, you know, we're good to go here, like, you know. You know, we bought loads. My mum had bought a bed. I was looking online for a million things. We found out it was a girl. That's a moment to remember. But Mila never wore clothes. The only time she wore clothes was when we dressed her for a funeral. This little tiny white baby girl with little grey stars on. It's weird now though, because all those clothes are just in a bag. In a bag. So my due date was supposed to be the 12th of April, and we're now on the 9th of Feb. So I still had, it's bizarre, I still had so much more time. It's mad though, I saw this picture and it's got like the back of a woman looking on. And it says how I see the world now. And it's just pram, pregnant woman, baby, family. I suppose it's like when you get, I know it's weird to compare it to, it's like when you get a new car and all you see is your car. You're like, I thought I was the only one who had the car. But this is like learning to, I don't even want to say move on. I'll never move on. I don't really feel like there's not anything to move on from. Like, I'm not going to move to a different place. I'm still going to think the way that I think. It's just getting by. The one thing that really is niggling on me is, why does everything happen for a reason? Like, what's this reason? What possibly could be the reason for Mila to pass away at 20 days old? Please, someone tell me the reason. I understand there's reasons for why you have good days or bad days, or you met this person, or you broke up with this person because this person entered your life, or, you know, trivial things of your way, of your path of life. But why that? It's so unfair, you know, baby. Until you've actually, like, held your child, do you feel a love you've never ever felt before? Ever. You do anything for it. Anything in the world. Mila was in the neonatal unit at the Liverpool Women's, and the staff there are like phenomenal. Doesn't even cover it. Like, I could talk about the women's for days. How unreal they were in every way. I got to hold her when she was born for about 7 seconds. She was on a ventilator then. I think from the minute she was born, roughly. And then she was never off the ventilator. She was on. She switched from 2 different types. But in the end, it was just so unfair. We couldn't do it to her. She weighed 1 pound 2 ounces when she was born. That's 630 grams. And for a 23-weeker, nearly 24-weeker, from what I gather, that's pretty good for her gestation to weigh that much. I had her doing good stead eating all the amounts that I did. But it just got to a point where we were asking too much of her. And we got to a point where the things that were happening, things that she was being given, that the consultants had hoped would work to help her lungs, she wasn't reacting to it. Her body was just too small. And if we'd pushed her any longer, the consultants had explained like things that would happen to her and what we would see and how her body would change and what would physically be shown. And you know, if you're being told your child's on absolute maximum life support, but if we carry on, she'd already ballooned to 3 times her size. Her chest was like dark purple black because her blood wasn't circulating. She hadn't weed for 4 days, so all that fluid that she needed to be given for all her medication was just sitting in her. And you know, if you're being told your child's skin is going to rip if you carry on, how could you live with yourself? It got to a point where she'd done everything she could. And I couldn't ask any more of her. I couldn't be that selfish. It's weird, like, when you're growing up or when you're, like, teenager, like, early 20s, and you're, like, forming your own opinions and thinking what you think. I think if someone said to me, you know, could you turn someone's life support off? 100% no. Never. Because you always are like, no, keep going, it's going to work, it's going to work. Until you're in that moment where you're looking at someone and you're forcing them to do all of these things. They haven't got a choice. Mila never spoke. She never made a noise. I think they call them silent babies. I saw her yawn. I saw her face scrunch up when it was like she was crying. But I never heard her cry. I couldn't make her go anymore. I couldn't make her. She had a line in each leg, a feeding tube down her throat, a ventilator down her throat, a line in her belly button, a line in her arm, a probe on each wrist, this horrible thing over her mouth there to keep the ventilator in that was pushing on her nose and made this big horrible dent and mark. And she had her nappy size changed drastically from how big she was growing. She couldn't do it to her anymore. She was so ill. And how could I push them on even more, make her little tiny body keep going, when she was just going to get worse? I couldn't live with myself if I'd made her skin rip because of my own selfish needs to keep going. But weirdly, you'd think that'd be the hardest decision you'd ever have to make, but it was the easiest. It was by far the easiest decision. Yes, make this pain stop. And then when she passed away, the first 2 days were, she looked strange. But then, like, after that, oh, she just looked like a baby. A little baby. And it's weird because I want to show everybody this picture, because all people have ever seen is her in the incubator, like tubed and wired up. But this, she had no tubes, no wires, nothing inside her. And she'd no horrible hat on her head to keep the ventilator in place. Just a baby, as she should be. I want to show everyone. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is a picture of a dead baby. She just looks asleep. I've looked at it so many times now. I don't know how it is to look at it the first time. I just want to show everyone. I've just watched the first couple of videos that I've made just because, you know, when you hear the sound of your own voice and you're like, oh. But I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. I don't know if I'm going to keep making these videos and post them anywhere. I haven't got a clue. I think it's just nice to just like talk to yourself. Because you don't plan what you're going to say, it just comes out. I don't know where to go from here. Like, I'm waiting for the funeral directors to call and say, we've got her back from the creme, do you want to come pick her up? I'm living with my mum and dad now. Well, me and Andrew are in the process of buying a house. That's probably, well, we won't move in probably another 2 months maybe, but like, what do you do with your baby's ashes? I'm not in the mindset to want to spread them anywhere yet. But like, I can't put her on the mantelpiece in my mum's house. That'd feel weird. I don't really want to shove her under the bed. What do you do with them? We've bought a box for her off Etsy. It's like a toy box, like all her teddies that she had in her incubator with her, and we'll put all like the files and all the documents we had, all her scan pictures. And I'm thinking when we move into this new house, there's like a little room and there's like a wall behind the door. And like Mila's colour that we had for her was lilac. Lilac was just everything for her, in her, everything. Like her blankets were lilac. In the hospital, we painted her foot lilac when we did her footprints with Claire House, and I had lilac roses on the day of her funeral, and I want to paint the wall lilac. Andrew's like, we shouldn't make it to be a shrine. I don't want it to be a shrine, I just want it to be like a memory wall. Like, if ever I'm having like a moment where I want to flick through the book that I'm making, or We got a teddy bear from the hospital where they recorded her heartbeat. I haven't listened to that yet. I just want a little space for her in the house, and I'm thinking of putting the box, the box inside the toy box, so that's like her space, like that would have been her nursery. Just what do you do now? Like everyone says, like obviously she'll never be replaced, but you know, I'm you know, I've been pregnant 3 times in the past year and a half. I'm on like the pregnancy train now, like I don't want to hop off it. I want to just keep going, but I don't know, he's getting pregnant again, like discounting her, like I'm a primary school teacher. I'm off work obviously at the minute, and you know, I work with kids. I work with families that have got lots of kids, and you know, not being a mum when I'm working, and you see how much like they just dote on them, and you know, every little niggle and bump and scrape, and when they come out of school sad, and not being a mum, like now feeling how I feel about Mila and imagining her being in school and stuff, I get it now. I get you'd move mountains for them. You care about them more than you've ever cared about yourself. It's weird now, like when people say like, oh, have you got kids? Do I say no? Do I say, yeah, I have? Or do I go, yeah, I had a baby called Mila, or I had a little girl called Mila? Like, I just can't wait to have a baby and see her in them. Because Andrew's got like such distinctive eyes, like Andrew's eyes come down. And like, Mila's eyes only opened because she was sedated, so all her muscles were relaxed to make the ventilator work. So her eyes started to open. I keep getting phone calls and it keeps stopping the video. I don't even know what I was saying. Oh, I can't wait to see Mila in my future children, because Andrew had such distinctive eyes, and her eyes were just him. She was him from here up, and then she had my nose and these most beautiful little love heart lips. Cupid, what are they called? The Cupid's bow there. Like when she passed away, I've never experienced like death, like my nan passed away and I was like early 20s, but like I don't know, my dad and my auntie like sorted everything, and obviously I didn't see her after she passed away. Like I think my auntie did, I don't think my dad did, but I've never experienced like seeing someone who's passed away. But then like after Mila passed, we had a couple of options. We could take her home, which I know suits some people, like flipping heck, good on you, like you are a strong person. Like for me personally, and you know, for Andrew, we were like, you know, one, we're living at my mum and dad's and my sister and her boyfriend lived there. I couldn't do that to them. But also if I had my own house, like I don't know, I'd feel like the house was a reminder of her and not in a positive way. And I just feel like, you know, when you go and have your dinner, what do you do with the baby? Like she's there, like in a crib. And also the fact that if, as morbid as this is, if she's not kept cold, she would drastically change. I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to cart around like a doll. Like, I've heard of some people who, like, you know, push their baby around in a pram after they've passed. Like, for me personally, that was just mental torture of, like, here's what you could have had. And as lovely as that would have been, it wouldn't have felt right, because it wasn't right. Like, she died. So we could take her home. That was one option. Or we could take her to Clare House over the Wirral. And she would have had like her own room, which we contemplated, because it would have been a nice place to visit. But then she had no connection to the Wirral. Her home was the women's. Again, I didn't want to cart her around, shipping her off over to the Wirral. And we live in Formby, so we should be further away from her. And then the next option was to keep her in the women's. And we could come and visit her in the honeysuckle suite. If anyone's had any doings with the honeysuckle team, again, utterly phenomenal. Like, so she stayed there. Obviously she was put in the morgue there, which, when you get your head round, like, the night that she died, we decided to have her in our room that night, which again doesn't suit some people, but you know, it was like when she was at the women's, like, she belonged to that room, and it was out of my control. Like, I imagine you have a baby, you pass them, you hold them, you do to skin, and then they're yours. They're yours to take home, they're your child. Mine was like, Mila was born on early hours of the morning on Sunday the 20th of December, 12:30 she was born, and we then didn't see her until 11 the next day, that day, but, like, you know, we didn't see her for what 10 hours. We didn't even know where she was. Like, the nurses would come and go, you'll see your baby soon, see her soon. We were like, okay. And then it came to actually going to see her, and we were like, where is she? Like, oh, she's on the neonatal ward. What's that? And, like, Andrew's brother has a little boy, Harry, and he was born prem. And Andrew had, like, shown me pictures of Harry when he was in the incubator, so I kind of knew what to expect. But nothing will prepare you for walking in and seeing your baby on blue lights, and tubes and wires and the ventilator, and how tiny she was. Like, I couldn't really absorb it when I'd just given birth and holding her. It was just like, oh my god, hello, like, wow, that's what you look like. Like, I'd never given birth before, so you don't know what's normal and what's not. Like, oh, she's in a bag. Why is she in a bag? She's got a tube down her throat. What's that for? Why has she got this yellow hat on her head? No umbilical cord is offered to cut it, because it's like straight into consultant's mode of, like, emergency. So yeah, we had her that night, which was lovely. Andrew still laughs about it now, but the nurses, obviously we took Mila with us to our room, and then with her wrapped in this lovely white blanket, and they wheel round, the nurses bring, the midwives, the neonatal nurses bring round this trolley, and it's got like a freezing cold, like, blanket underneath that's in this big, it's got a big tube attached to it, and on the side of the trolley it says Portamort, so a portable mortuary. You're gonna laugh about it, haven't you? So that was in our room. So she lay with us for a bit, wrapped in her blanket in the middle of us. We fell asleep for a bit. We were like, oh crap, I want to roll on the baby. So we put her with all around all her teddies in the porta-mort. And God, was she cold. Like, ice cold. I didn't even care though. I did not care. The first couple of times you touch her, you're like, whoa, wow. Andrew didn't like it at all. But to me, I didn't care because I was holding her and I had her with me and she was mine. Got to feel like a mum for a bit. So yeah, that morning we woke up and Elaine, the nurse, the neonatal nurse who'd been with us for like the last 2 days of Mila's life, she was unbelievable. Couldn't have done it without her. We couldn't have done it without her. She was like my mum in the hospital. Like, obviously with COVID, no one's allowed in. So, yeah, she helped us just mentally, and she was just so lovely. The way she spoke to Mila was just amazing. Like, she's a person. So we had to wake up that morning. I went down to the ward that she was on, room 7. Go and tell Elaine, like, okay, we're gonna go now. I think we'd had that night to process it a little bit as well. Yeah, saying bye to her, handing her over to Elaine. And then she went down to the mortuary, and then we called the next morning and we got to come into the honeysuckle suite, and they've got it beautiful. They put her in a crib, all fairy lights in this room. I think pre-COVID there was like books in there and all sorts of things, but they had to take all stuff out so they could clean it for like next families that were coming in, which is another thing. It's not just you. So yeah, we came and visited her. We had a week and a couple of days. We visited her for maybe one hour, an hour and a half every day, apart from the weekends when they're shut and you can't go and see them. But I get, you know, people have got to have a weekend, but you know, you got to call up to make an appointment to see your child. It's different, isn't it? And yeah, we got to read her stories, sing the song we used to always sing to her, "You Are My Sunshine." I felt like heartbreak before, like a relationship heartbreak. I felt that. And I guarantee everybody's had some gut-wrenching feel where you feel your stomach go boomf. I've had that heartbreak before, but you get over a relationship, don't you? Like ones when you're, you know, young teens, early 20s, you meet different people and things. I felt that. This is like this ongoing mental torment. Like, you feel guilty to laugh. You feel guilty when like I've got this necklace here that says Mila on. That I had when she was a couple of days old. Got off Etsy again. And like, I've worn it every single day since I got it. Apart from one day. And I think I went to my grandma's with my mum. Just to get her some shopping and, you know, look after her. And I forgot it. I didn't put it on. I just forgot. And the minute I realised, I wanted to turn back around and put it on. Just thought, how dare I get dressed and not think about Mila? In a serious way. How dare I? I didn't even think about her when I was getting ready. She wasn't on my mind. That makes you feel horrendous. You're so disappointed in yourself. It's nice to keep busy. It's nice going to Clare House and I'm going to Andrew's mum's now to walk Barney the dog, but it's nice having moments where your mind's a bit distracted, but at the same time, the minute it comes back, you're like, I wasn't thinking about it for about an hour. How can I not think about it for an hour? Well, life's got to keep going, hasn't it? Life's got to keep moving. You see people going out on their day-to-day, like this guy has brought weights, and he's obviously working out on the beach, on the park. But I can't judge him. He could have had the worst news ever this morning. And he doesn't know why I'm sat here talking to myself. It's another thing. You're driving round. If you have road rage, if people snap at you while you're in Tesco, or, you know, everybody's got something going on. Everybody. Whether it's a little something or a massive something. Like, you know, we were driving from Formby to Liverpool every day after she died. We lived at the hospital while she was there. And like, Andrew can have a little bit of road rage. And things happened and he was just like, what's the point? What is the point in getting angry? Doesn't save it, doesn't solve anything, doesn't change anything. I get angry for 2 minutes and then I'm fine. And my blood pressure's gone woof. But some people do have angry moments when things get tough. I've had angry moments. I've had really angry moments, being angry at the world. But you don't know what other people are going through. You really don't. Until you walk in that person's shoes, which I hope nobody ever has to experience that. And sadly enough, people do. We weren't the only people on that neonatal unit. I think there was 12 rooms. The honeysuckle suite to visit her when she was in the morgue wasn't just made for us. It was there before, years and years before. And we'd make appointments and go, are we okay to come in at 1? And she'd go, yeah, but you'll have to leave at 3 because there's another family coming in. And I'm like, oh my God, there's another family going through what we're going through. The dad says every single time he goes to work, be kind. Be kind to each other. Be kind to people. Doesn't solve anything being nasty to people or being bitter. It's no one's fault. It's that thing, why? What did I do? Did I carry too many heavy bags into school? All the kids' books? I didn't take folic acid because it made me feel sick. And I thought, I took folic acid the first 2 times and look what happened. I won't take it this time. Was I too stressed in work? We've got a meeting with the consultant soon. We need to hand that form in actually, where we write down any questions we've got for them, and then when we go they answer them the best they can, and they take the placenta off to have tests. And I mean, do I wanna have a reason that it's this, you've got this wrong with you, or it was because of this? And then I can try and rectify that, and I've got something to work towards. I think you get aspirin injections and steroid injections, which I had one of when I was in labour. I think they said 30% of women never find out why. No, 30% of women find out why, 70% don't. I mean, if I found out that I had an infection, how will I feel? It was because of me and my body that happened. How will I feel? I mean, how long after you lose a baby do you try again? I've had my first period since having Mila, and I'm like, right, come on. And again, come on. And Andrew's a bit like, you know, we just bought a house, we've got to get the house sorted. And I'm like, there is nothing that will put a stop in my way of wanting me to have a baby. Like, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right. But nothing is ever going to make me go, no, I'm not going to, we're not trying. Well, we are always trying. Yeah. See what the world brings us, eh? What crap is going to land on our doorstep? Trying to get into that positive mindset. I'm not doing a great job at it, am I? Right, I need to go and walk the dog, or Andrew will have a cob on. Because I've been talking to myself for about an hour now. I might do it again. I've quite enjoyed it, to be honest. To go and walk little Barney Boo. Driven to Andrew's mum's. On the way, I saw a hearse and I couldn't see what the flowers said, but I could see how big the coffin was. And there's like pros and cons to everything, isn't there? Like, that person was obviously, you know, from the size of the coffin, I'm guessing they were an adult. They've lived their life, you know, their family have got their memories of them, and, you know, I don't know how young or old that person was, but they lived. Like, I think of things like Mila never felt wind on her face or heard the rain. But Mila, like, you know, she was 20 days old. She didn't get a life, a full life. The priest who baptised Mila in the hospital, we asked if he could, like, do the service of the funeral. And one line he said, I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. He said, Mila only felt love. She only knew of love. Like, from when her body started to change, she was sedated, so I hope she didn't feel a thing. She was on a load of morphine. But she only knew, like, I think they said, the first couple of days a baby's born, but a neonatal baby, a prem baby, they call it honeymoon periods because I think it takes a while for their body to adjust to the fact that they're not in the womb anymore. So the first couple of days are like, oh my God, she's doing amazing. She's only on 22% oxygen, or whatever it is, 22 something oxygen. But then, like, when obviously she's not connected with the umbilical cord, she's not getting my nutrients, she's not cocooned in a warm and, you know, safe place, that's when things start to change. And in the neonatal unit, there's 12, I think there's 12 rooms with like 4 or 5 babies in each room. And when you walk out, there's a board on the wall. It's called the graduation wall. And it's got all pictures of the babies who've left, and they put a little cap on them, and it's lovely. And we had to walk facing this wall and then turn. We had to walk down this corridor, and you could see it every single time we left the ward to go upstairs to our room. And I had a little look on the wall, and all the babies' dates were like born 35 weeks, 31 weeks, 28 weeks. That was the youngest I saw, 28 weeks. And I remember saying to Andrew, we are going to be very lucky. Telephone call. Andrew calling again. Yeah, I remember saying, we'll be very, very lucky to get out of here. You're just so naive when you're in there. You think, nah, it won't happen to me. She'll get out. She'll fight every problem she faces. It's weird, like the people who were in the ward with us, like the other families with their babies, like you could hear little bits about what was happening with their baby, and some of the babies had gone, some of the parents had gone through hell and back with their children, and the babies that were in there were, you know, going through a lot. And I wonder, like, oh, how are they doing? And there was a lovely Welsh couple opposite us who's had a baby, I think had a stoma bag, and he was only 28 weeks. And there was another lady, a Spanish lady who, I think she was Spanish, who was next to Mila, and her little boy, I think his heart stopped. And I remember that day watching her pace up and down the corridor, and that was quite early on for us when Mila was all right. And I remember thinking, like, friggin' hell, like, I'm so glad that's not me. And I had my turn. Twice Mila's her lungs collapsed. And we had, first times about, I think it's about half an hour, where the consultants were trying to fix a ventilation tube, and you could just hear the bleeps on the machine, and the numbers were going down and down and down, coming up again, down a bit more, up a little bit. That was the first time, and we just prayed. You know, I'm not a devout Christian, and, you know, it's mad what you turn to when you have hard times. And then the second time, she went for about 45 minutes, her ventilation, her lungs collapsed again, because she'd been moved to change her nappy, and the tube had moved, and it had collapsed her right lung. And we had that. And that was hell. Unless you've been in a situation where, like, you've watched a family member, let alone your child, just plummet, and you're saying to each other, this could be it, this could be it. But we were lucky enough to have a real precious last 2 days with her, when we'd had that talk with the consultant of, look, if the steroids don't work, which they didn't, that we can't do anything more for her. It took us a day or two to let that sink in, of like, right, okay, so there's nothing else, is that it? Is there nothing else we can give her? But they did everything. They gave her everything. I think she was on 11 IVs. She had loads of boosters throughout the day, so she must have been on like 17, 18 different drips throughout every single day, 24 hours a day, and little booster ones as well. They did everything they could for her. They gave her everything. But yeah. Every time something just pops in my head, I'll just video. Just document it for me, really, as well. Look back in a couple of months and see where I was at, what my thinking was. I just can't wait to pick her up from the funeral directors and have her home.